Every Monday before dawn, in a quiet fjord near Tromsø, a team of Norwegian workers boards a floating processing barge anchored in icy waters. Beneath them, thousands of king salmon circle in submerged sea pens, their orange-pink scales gleaming just beneath the surface. The crew doesn't waste time. They only have a few hours before the first truck departs. As the hydraulic cranes lift the fish from the pens, they're immediately transferred to stainless steel processing tables, where workers in waterproof suits begin the gutting, cleaning, and filleting process. The salmon are handled with precision. Each fish is over 20 pounds. And the flesh must remain pristine for what's coming next, a journey of over 5,000 miles. Across the Atlantic, to supermarket shelves in Los Angeles. As the fish are cleaned, they move through a vacuum chute into an onboard blast freezer that operates at -40 degrees Fahrenheit. The goal is not just to freeze, it's to freeze fast. At that temperature, ice crystals don't have time to form and damage the delicate muscle fibers. Within 30 minutes, the core of each fillet is rock solid. Every pallet is then stacked in a cold storage chamber below deck where the internal temperature is digitally monitored and locked. No one is allowed to open the chamber once it's sealed. When the salmon leaves that barge, it must arrive at the airport below the same temperature it entered or the shipment gets rejected by 9 a.m. Two refrigerated trucks, each capable of holding 22.5 tons, arrive at the dock. The loading process is fast and choreographed. Forklifts move pallet after pallet into the trucks, while a quality control supervisor checks the seal, temperature, and documentation. Norway's strict export regulations demand a chain of custody for every fillet from sea pen to supermarket. GPS temperature loggers are inserted into random pallets, silently recording every fluctuation along the trip. If a single logger shows deviation, that entire shipment gets flagged in Los Angeles. The stakes are high. Each truck is carrying salmon worth nearly $400,000. The convoy then heads south along the E6 highway, cutting through forests and tunnels toward Oslo Airport. The trucks don't stop. Drivers rotate on a schedule, sleeping in shifts inside heated cabins. The logistics company operating the route specializes in ultra-perishable cargo. If there's snow or a road closure, they're rerouted instantly via a private operations center tracking weather patterns across Europe in real time. The clock doesn't forgive mistakes. The moment the salmon leaves the water, a 36-hour countdown begins. That's the window to freeze, transport, fly, and deliver before degradation sets in. What at Oslo Gardermoen, the salmon is transferred to a cargo terminal owned by a logistics company that handles high-value perishables. A team in insulated suits unloads the trucks, swiftly rechecking the temperature of each crate. Then the cargo is repacked inside Uda containers, metal air freight pallets, lined with ultra-cold gel packs and reflective thermal covers that maintain sub-zero temperatures for up to 48 hours. The entire process is designed to minimize human contact. From here, the salmon moves into a temperature-controlled corridor that leads directly to the waiting aircraft, a Boeing 747-8 freighter operated by a dedicated seafood airlift program. This jet isn't carrying electronics or retail goods. It's almost entirely packed with Norwegian salmon, organized in modular pallets from different farms across the coast. Each crate is secured, locked, and tagged for priority customs clearance on arrival in the United States. The cargo hold is pre-cooled to match the fish's temperature, reducing the thermal shock that could trigger condensation or thawing during ascent. When the aircraft doors close and the engines roar to life, 45 tons of frozen king salmon are already deep in hibernation, destined for California skies. Inside the cockpit, the crew monitors a separate dashboard linked to the cargo hold's climate system. Every 30 minutes, readings from sensors in each compartment are checked. If even one zone begins to warm, an automatic alert sounds. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, a customs preclearance team is already preparing for the shipment's arrival. They've received a digital manifest hours before the plane takes off, allowing them to fast-track inspection and avoid delays on the tarmac. For major supermarket chains in the US, consistency is everything. They've placed their orders weeks in advance, and shelves are cleared in anticipation of the delivery. A single delay could mean a week without king salmon in dozens of stores after 11 hours in the air. The 747 descends over the Pacific coast and lands at LAX's cargo terminal. The containers are offloaded within 15 minutes, met by waiting, refrigerated trucks. At this point, the salmon has been frozen solid for nearly 30 hours. Still, the temperature loggers are checked one final time. Customs officers briefly inspect the cargo not for smuggling, but for compliance with FDA import standards and temperature integrity. The truck doors are sealed again, and the salmon begins its last short leg, a 20-mile trip to a cold storage facility in Compton, where it will be sorted by region, retailer, and quantity. By 6 a.m. the next morning, just under 48 hours from harvest, the first packages are being shelved in premium supermarkets across Southern California. What sets this operation apart from standard seafood logistics is the level of automation and coordination involved from end to end. In the cold storage facility in Compton, the salmon doesn't just sit waiting for manual sorting. The pallets are scanned using RFID tags, and an AI system automatically allocates them to different supermarket chains based on real-time demand, inventory gaps, and even regional preferences. Some stores in Santa Monica want skin and fillets with a specific cut size, while others in Anaheim request vacuum-packed portions ready for deli counters. Within minutes of arriving, crates are rerouted by robotic forklifts to packaging lines or direct outbound docks, where another fleet of refrigerated trucks stands by with pre-planned routes covering the greater Los Angeles area. The buyers behind this massive flow are not just paying for fish, they're paying for precision, reliability, and branding power. King Salmon from Norway has developed a cult-like status among premium grocery stores and health-conscious consumers in California. Its OMEGA3 profile, vibrant flesh, and mild flavor make it a staple in poke bowls, sushi counters, and upscale restaurant menus. But for this product to retain that elite label, the entire supply chain must operate flawlessly. Supermarket managers expect to receive product sheets with temperature logs, origin certificates, harvest timestamps, and even photos from the farm, all included in a digital packet that accompanies the shipment. If anything's missing, the salmon doesn't go on the shelf. That's the standard this $2 million weekly route upholds. Back in Norway, the farms that supply this route operate under synchronized harvest schedules. There's a rotation system that ensures no single pen is overfished or stressed. Divers monitor the health of the fish daily, checking for parasites, water quality, and behavior. When harvest day is chosen, the salmon are moved into a waiting pool where their stress levels are monitored before extraction. This reduces lactic acid buildup, which can affect the texture and shelf life of the meat. On board the harvest barge, only certified handlers are allowed to touch the fish. They are trained not just in hygiene and safety but in speed. Every second counts. Between sea and freezer, one of the most innovative components of the operation is the cryogenic tunnel used during peak demand periods. When traditional blast freezing isn't fast enough, a mobile nitrogen tunnel is deployed at the pier. Salmon fillets pass through a chamber filled with liquid nitrogen vapor, freezing them in under 90 seconds. This process, though more expensive, guarantees near-perfect preservation, especially useful when temperatures fluctuate in spring and summer. These tunnels are only used during crunch times when weekly volumes surpass 50 tons, but their presence ensures that no fish is ever delayed due to capacity limits. The entire network is built to absorb surges without compromising on time or quality during transport. Every stakeholder along the chain gets updates through a central monitoring platform. From truck drivers in Norway to warehouse managers in California, everyone sees the same data. If a delay is detected in customs, alerts are pushed to dispatchers and backup drivers are deployed with rerouted manifests. It's a dance of milliseconds. In one instance, a runway closure in New York diverted the entire flight path of a 747 midair, with the salmon arriving 4 hours late. Yet by using thermal covers with extended hold times and rerouting trucks through a cooler corridor of Los Angeles, the shipment still passed inspection. That level of contingency planning is not just protocol, it's routine. The American retailers on the receiving end treat these shipments with a level of reverence, usually reserved for tech products. Unloading crews at warehouse docks wear thermal gloves, not for their safety, but to avoid body heat altering the surface temperature of the packaging. Some supermarkets even document the unboxing process on video, sending the footage back to Norway as part of a quality feedback loop. In turn, Norwegian suppliers analyze spoilage rates, customer feedback, and even Instagram posts to improve presentation. If a consumer posts a photo of a fillet with an uneven color or thaw line, it's logged, tracked, and used to trace the packaging station it came from. Each element of this supply chain is both ultra-modern and deeply rooted in tradition. The king salmon that's being shipped across oceans today is the result of generations of aquaculture refinement, coastal discipline, and a national strategy to dominate premium seafood exports. And yet, it wouldn't be possible without a 24/7 system of planes, sensors, software, and humans all working in sync. It's not just fish on a plane. It's an ecosystem designed for speed, trust, and zero room for error. Every week, that trust is tested and delivered 45 tons at a time in many ways. This weekly airlift has become a benchmark for how global food logistics can work when precision, investment, and technology converge around a single product. But maintaining such a high-performance route requires more than just infrastructure. It depends on human coordination, timing, and trust between partners across continents. One miscommunication between a Norwegian processor and an American buyer can jeopardize an entire batch. That's why the two sides hold weekly virtual briefings where logistics managers, procurement officers, and quality control teams analyze the previous week's shipment. They dissect every step from freezing speed to customs delays, using dashboards filled with data points and thermal maps. It's not just about fixing errors, it's about refining perfection. That came out of these meetings was the impact of humidity on the gel packs used inside the air freight containers. During certain months, Elevated moisture in the air at Oslo Airport caused the packs to deteriorate faster mid-flight, slightly increasing container temperatures during descent into Los Angeles. It didn't spoil the fish, but it introduced unnecessary variability. So, the team implemented a dehumidification tunnel for the loading area and began rotating the gel pack inventory weekly to guarantee peak insulation. That single adjustment saved an estimated $72,000 in rejected product within 1 quarter. These micro-optimizations happen constantly, often invisible to the final customer, but vital for preserving trust in a product marketed as perfect. There's also the human side behind the automation. The pilots who fly these weekly routes aren't anonymous operators. Many of them specialize in perishables. One crew member, known among colleagues as Captain Ice, has logged over 1,200 flights hauling seafood, from shrimp in Vietnam to lobsters in Nova Scotia. He jokes that he can smell a temperature shift from the cockpit. And while that may be exaggerated, his reputation for smooth cargo descents in warm climates is the reason his team is assigned to the LAX leg. His presence, like that of many veteran handlers and cold chain experts, adds a layer of experience that machines still can't replicate. As the fish makes its way from the cold storage hub in Compton into grocery stores across California, a different kind of logistics takes over the in-store cold chain. Retail partners invest heavily to match the upstream standards, with energy-efficient display cases, backup refrigeration units, and automated shelf sensors that ping headquarters. If the display temperatures rise above safe levels, store staff are trained not only to rotate stock but to inspect packaging seals, color tone, and odor levels with strict protocols. In premium locations such as Beverly Hills or Newport Beach, employees even host tasting stations where shoppers can sample the salmon before buying, a move that, ironically, creates pressure to maintain absolute freshness despite the fish being frozen for transit. And yet, one of the most impressive elements of the entire journey is the consumer's experience. To the average shopper picking up a vacuum-packed salmon fillet from a cold display, it's just another grocery decision. They might admire the vibrant color, note the country of origin, and feel reassured by the never-thawed label stamped in bold letters. What they don't see is the 1,000 hands, machines, and calculations that made that moment possible, nor the fact that the salmon in their cart was swimming in Arctic waters just 2 days earlier. That connection between distant nature and everyday purchase is exactly what this supply chain is engineered to preserve. Beyond Los Angeles, the success of this model is inspiring similar operations. Miami is testing routes with yellowfin tuna from Ecuador. Tokyo is experimenting with live snow crab airlifts from Canada. And Dubai, not to be outdone, has launched a trial involving Icelandic cod delivered directly to 5-star hotels. But none of these have yet matched the consistency and scale of Norway to California king salmon. The combination of fish quality, national logistics strategy, and buyer demand has created a rare harmony. In fact, Norwegian fisheries are now building a second harvest barge and increasing flight capacity, aiming to double the weekly volume to 90 tons within the next 18 months. However, this expansion comes with new challenges. More volume means tighter customs coordination, more risk of bottlenecks, and greater environmental scrutiny. Activist groups have already raised concerns about the carbon footprint of airlifting seafood across the globe. In response, the consortium behind this operation has begun exploring biofuel options for aircraft and investing in carbon offset programs. Additionally, they're working with California-based partners to test hybrid electric delivery trucks for the last-mile distribution phase. These aren't just PR gestures, they're moves designed to keep the operation sustainable and resilient in the face of growing regulation and climate pressure. Still, week after week, shipment after shipment, the mission remains the same: deliver 45 tons of pristine king salmon to Southern California without a single degree of temperature deviation. It's a process built on science, sharpened by feedback, and driven by a market that expects nothing less than perfection. From fjord to fork. While the current operation is a feat of logistical engineering, it also reflects a deeper trend. In the global food economy, consumers are demanding traceability, speed, and premium quality like never before. Gone are the days when seafood arrived through opaque supply chains with little information about origin or handling. Today, shoppers scan QR codes on packaging that show the exact GPS coordinates of the salmon farm, the name of the processing barge, even the name of the inspector who signed off on the final temperature report. This level of transparency, once a novelty, is now becoming standard, and Norway's salmon route is leading that shift. But the real strength behind this operation doesn't lie in the cold, the steel, or even the planes. It lies in the commitment to never let a single shipment fail. Every layer of the system, from harvest divers in Tromsø to forklift drivers in Compton, is driven by that same goal. It's a chain with no weak links, where accountability is built into every checkpoint. If a box arrives even 1 degree warmer than allowed, someone, somewhere, will be reviewing logs, scanning sensor data, and tracing the moment the protocol faltered. It's this level of care that makes it more than just a delivery system. It's a living network, and it works because it refuses to accept good enough. There are moments that show just how much pride exists in the people behind it. A processor on the barge once delayed a shipment by 40 minutes because one batch of fillets had slightly uneven cuts, even though they passed technical specs. His supervisor backed the decision. They recut, refroze, and repacked the entire lot. When asked later, he said, "If someone in California is trusting us with their dinner, they deserve better than just okay." That mindset, multiplied across every role in the chain, is what turns frozen salmon into a $2 million weekly promise and keeps customers coming back without even knowing why. As Norway prepares to scale this route, it's not just about more fish or bigger planes. It's about protecting the integrity of something far more fragile than salmon trust. A trust that begins in a cold fjord and ends in a warm California kitchen. The expansion will require not just more infrastructure, but more discipline, smarter systems, and continued transparency. And if the past years have proven anything, it's that this route is not just sustainable, it's replicable. Other countries are watching, learning, and adapting. But Norway's edge remains in its consistency, culture, and willingness to invest in the invisible parts of the chain. At its core, this is more than a story about how food moves across the world. It's a story about what happens when technology, tradition, and trust collide at 35,000 feet, all to deliver something that still tastes like it came straight from the ocean. So the next time you see king salmon in your local market, firm, bright, and ice cold, you'll know the truth. It didn't just arrive. It was delivered with precision, frozen in trust, and carried across oceans by people you'll never meet, but who never stopped watching the temperature. If you found this journey behind the scenes as fascinating as we did, don't forget to follow the channel for more real-world stories of how your food, your goods, and your world move. From remote harvest sites to the cargo bays of international airliners, we bring you the truth behind the label, one shipment at a time.